Hello and welcome to Connect to Love here on PRN-FM, where each week is an amazing exploration into the many facets of love, oneness, and our connection to the human spirit. I'm Lisa LaRose, and I'm so excited that you're joining us on a day when we stand at the threshold of a new beginning. So I want to say Happy New Year to you and to my co-host, Michael J. Russ. It's always such a delight.
It is always amazing. Thank you so much. Happy New Year to you, too. Happy New Year to our entire audience. Whenever you're listening to this, it's always a Happy New Year. It's always a glorious, magnificent start, as every day is to every day in the year. It's fantastic. So happy to be here, always loving it.
And I love that you said that every day can be the first day of a year. Every day can be a new beginning. Yeah. Sometimes we have to sort of challenge our vocabulary and our belief system and kind of have to go beyond where we spend our lives to the idea of sharing our lives. I've never been really fond of the term spending time. Somebody says, I want to spend time with you, because it almost makes it feel like to me that it's a currency, that it's disposable, that there's some kind of transaction. And I love the idea of sharing time with people. I recently lost my great Aunt Ruth. She was just shy of 104 years young when she passed. And I look back at a life that really spanned over a century. And I will tell you that up until last year, she was independent. She lived on her own. She had a very sharp memory. And she embraced life. She was in her garden. She would go out and feed the birds. That's what somebody had said to me when I called a neighbor to let them know that she transitioned. And they said, oh, your aunt would always go outside and feed the birds, and that's what made her happy. And she was very determined. What a wonderful way to live. I mean, truly, I look at a life fully lived, and her passing, although it brings me sadness because she was sort of like a second mom to me, I know that her soul is eternal, and she's always with me, which is really, really nice. And I think that for anybody who has lost somebody, you have to always know that they are with you. And I thought, how appropriate right before the new year. It is really special. Anytime I had to share with her, whether it was on the phone or in person, was always very precious to me. I had an opportunity last fall to go out and visit with her, and we shared so many wonderful conversations about her childhood, about her travels, about the things that she experienced in life, her relationship with her sisters and with my mom, and it was very special to be able to have those conversations. And I believe that's what sharing time is all about. And I think that that's what time is. It's a very precious commodity, not because it ends, but because it was shared. And I know that you also had an opportunity to share the holidays with your beautiful mom, and it fills your heart with joy. It's something that, although you can't be with her all the time, you know that the time that you shared with her is truly filled with love, and that's what it's all about.
That's true. I did enjoy spending Christmas Day and the next 3 days after with my mother, who's 97, just a couple of weeks ago. And it's people say, oh, it's so sad that she's an assisted living and she can't take care of herself. And I said, no. I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at her spirit. I'm looking at what's going on in her eyes, and does she smile? She laughs, definitely laughs. When there's something funny, she'll just start cracking up. And I think that's lovely. I think it's joyful. I focus on, in these kinds of situations, you can only really focus on the quality of the moment. As you said, it's about the quality of the moment. And I make every moment as high quality as I possibly can. I cherish every single, and I'm there for, from like noon to 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night. I'm with her 100%. I'm not doing anything else. I'm not on a computer. I'm not on my phone. And I'm just with her and engaging with her in one way or another. And that to me is, in over 4 days period of time, the rest of the world can just simply go by. It's something that I very much treasure, and when it comes to even if she weren't in assisted living and able to take care of herself, I would still do the same thing. It's what I did in the past. We spend time together. It's talking, it's doing, it's participating in something that she enjoys. It's all about her, and it's all about connection. And we, in many cases with people, what do we do with people? We take the time we spend with people for granted, which is unfortunate, because we think, oh yeah, this we get caught up in our own egoic, judgmental kind of behaviors, where we're in controlling behaviors with people, and there's nothing about this situation that I can control, and I go into it knowing that, and it makes it so much easier, so much more of a loving experience when I'm not attempting to control. I'm just asking, what would you like to do? Give me a yes, give me a no, and we go in that direction. We move in that direction. So wonderful. Thank you.
And I think you see every day as a gift, and when you are truly present in that moment, I mean, that's what determines the quality of each of our lives. And I had mentioned to you yesterday, although it's been a very long time since I saw the movie with Eddie Murphy, Holy Man, but I see an excerpt, a scene from it posted all the time, and he speaks about 75 years. He says that's how much time you get if you're lucky. 75 winter, 75 springtime, 75 summer, 75 autumn. And when you look at that, it's really not a lot of time. And he says, don't waste them. And I believe that when we recognize that every moment, every second is that precious. And you and I both got our start in radio on the Vibrant Living Network with Glenn Brooks. Glenn had a wonderful, vibrant way of living and looking at life, and he incorporated two things almost in every show. The first was, what would you do if you knew it was impossible to fail? That every day you had an opportunity to try something new. And he asked that question to many, many different people, including myself, and I'm sure he asked you. And Glenn would end every show very simply with the beautiful reminder that your life is precious. Enjoy it. And that, for me, always, I think about that all the time. Your life is precious. Enjoy it. And you do that, Michael, and I try to do that every day.
Yeah, we make an effort.
We do.
Yeah.
We do.
And
I mentioned to you this morning, I kept thinking about this idea of father time, and I'm very much into mythology, and one of the Greek word for father time is chronos. So I got online this morning, and I thought, I've got to look a little bit more into Chronos and exactly what his story was, more than just a ticking clock. And surprise, I think the guides brought in the antithesis of Chronos, which is not about the quantitative time, but it was Kairos. And Kairos actually looks at the world where time is all about quality, which is exactly what we're speaking about. And I thought to myself, oh my goodness, I had no idea that he even existed. And it's all about the idea of opportune moments and deep time. That qualitative sharing time with loved ones is a Kairos experience. So that's going to be my new thing. Let's have a Kairos experience together, right? But it is.
Exactly.
It's a moment in time where time seems to stand still because those connections are so deep. And I think that in the time shared with my great Aunt Ruth, or even the time you share with your mother, you do have those moments where time stands still. I think about the stories of you taking your mom to the beach, and although she was not as ambulatory as she once was, you made it possible for her to enjoy that experience. It's just, it's so beautiful.
I haven't thought about that lately, but yeah, that was about 3 years ago. 3 or 4 years ago that was the case. But yeah, it is. You find a way. It's like I'm not saying that I understand how long I'm going to live or anything else like that. But I learned a couple of decades ago to stop throwing negative energy into a moment. And it's what we have a tendency to do. We want to throw judgment into the moment. We want to throw some sort of control into the moment. And we want to engage negative emotions into the moment. We want to put those in there. We want to put this soup of stuff that doesn't really matter, that doesn't add to the quality of our life, that has no relevance, into the moment. And because we think, oh, they're unlimited, because it's, that's it. We can do whatever we want. It's my life. If I want to be ticked off at somebody, I can be. If I want to judge somebody as this or that, I can. And if I want to make somebody's life a negative experience, sure, you can go ahead and do that. You have that choice. However, when we do that, we're not hurting them, we're hurting ourselves. Because love is the thread that brings everything together. Everything together. Not the kind of love that we take for granted here, the controlling love, the jealousy love, the anticipatory love, the kind of love, the judgmental love. It's a love where we take everything, see everything as equal, as putting it high on a pedestal. It's no judgment, no fear, no doubt, no self-doubt, none of the worry, the fear, and the frustration that we always engage in. Everybody does at one point in time. It's just a function of when you can wake up and recognize that you're doing it, and then go, wait a minute, I don't choose this. Why am I doing this? This is not what I would choose to do. This isn't aligned with love. And when we go off and when we wake up to that, we have a choice. We can say, I'm done with this. Why? And let me recalibrate my thinking. Why am I going off on this person? It's not there. I was watching one of the things we do every January 1st is we take a bath and watch Fifth Element. And I just got done with that about a half hour ago. It's one of the things that we do. And we also throw some champagne in there at the same time. But hey, that's just our little celebration. Yeah. So the thing about Fifth Element, if you've never seen the movie, not to ruin it, but literally, love is the thing that saves the world. In the end, love saves the world. And you have to get to that point and really kind of pick up on that, because it's not threaded throughout the entire movie. The movie is about, the Earth's in trouble and, this bad force is coming in, and you need a supreme being to stop it. But literally, if you pick up on the last little second before the world is destroyed, it's love. It's love that saves the world, because love is the thing that is the most powerful thing in the universe. And it's unconditional love. We talked about it before. It's non-judgmental love. It's a kind of depth of love that most people on this, it's not described in movies. It's not described in books. That's some kind of fairy tale thing that is based on control and basically somebody having someone, having owning ownership of someone, of another being, of another soul. We're talking about something completely different that is on a much higher level, and that's the love that I'm talking about, and that's love that we talk about when it comes to this world. And when I see people, I've always said I want to leave people better than the way I found them. And the only way you can do that is with love and kindness. Love has to be the underlying foundation. On top of that, you can build kindness and everything else that it makes the experience really joyful. However, it's always the foundation of love, always the foundation of love. And I constantly find myself making sure that I'm thinking along the lines of unconditional love. And I ask myself, am I putting conditions on this relationship? Am I putting conditions with this person or this situation? Am I putting conditions on, am I separating myself from this particular individual because of some sort of perception I have about them that isn't really positive? So it to me, I'm always asking myself that, because I'm the one who's choosing to have the experience. So I want to make sure that the experience has as much of a basis, a foundation in love as possible. Love and joy and fun and gratitude and forgiveness, they all spring forth from unconditional love in the first place, in my view. So the Kairos, I love that. I'm going to use that myself, having Kairos moments, high quality moments, Kairos experiences. Yeah.
Kairos
I like
experiences.
That.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that beautiful message, Michael, because it's not about the number of days that we have, but the quality of the footprints we leave on people's hearts. That's that love that we share. And I think sometimes that's where the phrase spending time, it's like, you feel like you have this bank of time. But when we go into sort of those timeless moments where hours feel like 5 minutes because we're so present in that love, that feeling of love. And that's really the true measurement of life. We did a show recently with Carol Collins, and I loved what the teachers brought through. They talked about when you share time from a state of peace, it actually expands. So it's that quantum experience of time, no space, no matter, and being in that ever present where it just, you recognize it. And I heard so much recently, if you go into the quantum realm, time being an illusion, and we've created it. One of the books that I'm listening to right now is The Starless Sea. I had listened to it before, and I wanted to go back, and I re-listened to that part because the stars wanted to determine which was more important, time or fate, and they chose to keep time. Although fate, they knew, would always be there and could always find its way back, which made me think, why is it that we feel the need to quantify things when we have the choice available to play in the timeless moments? And I thought, you think about when you're a child, we have snow here, and you go out in the morning and you would sled ride and you would just be lost in the moment. Or if you go down to the beach and you're swimming in the ocean and you just lose that time, hours can just disappear because it is so amazing and fulfilling and just ever present. And I think that that's sort of how we hold ourselves in the time we share as sacred too. To share time is saying, I value my presence and yours. If we practice just being in the present moment, wherever we are, wherever it is, whatever we're doing, we are energetically saying to ourselves, this moment matters. I know a lot of people like to plan out their year. That's sort of, to me, I've never really been able to do that. I do have envisioning, but it's a little bit different. I mean, I sort of think, okay, that's like the chronos. You've got, the clock's already ticking. Whereas the Kairos, it's allowing you to be that creator in every moment. Sharing time with your passions, with the ones that you love, and what do we want to birth into being to be the highest expression of ourselves and of our soul. That's what I'm excited for.
I love it. The whole idea of, you asked a question about, why let's do this. Because time is really as a construct of that was created to control people, control man. You think about it. Going to school is based on structured time. Work is based on structured time. Eating is based on structured time. And vacations, raising kids, and experiences associated with kids are based on structured time. So you think about it, our whole world had to be structured with time, with 24 hours, and this is when you sleep, and this is when you eat. And of course, there's your circadian rhythm. There's times when your body wants to rest, and there's times when your body is not at rest and is so the whole idea, if you think about it, if you didn't have to get up and go to work or eat at any particular time, if you didn't need to go to school when you were younger, time would not be as important. You'd just be out doing and being, and you'd eat when you were hungry, and that was it. You'd have fun. You'd be joyful. And as a kid, as you just mentioned, you don't have to concern yourself with that because you're not into a structured environment as much as your parents might be. And think about it. So the question is, how do you get back to that? How do you get back to that non-structured environment, living within a structured environment, an environment that's structured for production, right? That's really what it's about. It's about production and consumerism and producing things to consume. That's where we live at this particular point, and many people do live there. People who work from home, the biggest challenge that they have is maintaining some sort of structure of time. It's challenging for many people because they've been in an environment in an office or somewhere like that somebody was always controlling the structure, telling them what to do and when. And so when they get home, it's like, wow, I'm working from home and I can get up and I can go to work. If as long as I get my work done today, it's not a big deal. So I can get up and go take that walk. I can go enjoy playing with my kids before they go off to school. I can fix them a meal. I can do this thing. I can do that thing. I can do something joyous for myself. I can meditate. And so from a 3D perspective, time is incredibly important. Again, the challenge is how do we structure our day so that we create more quality than quantity? How do we create those Kairos moments out of a situation that has been so heavily structured? And so, in my view, you can do that even within the concept of structured time. You can still do it. It's an intention to make every moment the best moment that it can be. Make that moment count for something. And if you go from a perspective of, I believe in the concept of connection is really why the most important thing, connection with other people, right? That's the most important thing, because without connection with other people, love can't propagate. We have to have connection with other people. And so to me, this is challenging because you and I, we work, we're at home. We don't live in a structured work environment. I get up and I know I'm going to be accomplishing something at some point. However, my morning is my own. My afternoon is my own. So I do what I need to do within the time frames that I need to do it, and I have discipline. However, if the dog wants to play, I'll go play with the dog. It's like there's a very loving moment there when my little corgi comes in and says, "Hey, you've been working too hard. Come play." And
That's
instead
great.
of saying, "No, I can't do that. I can't do that. I got to stay here. Wait, no, go away." You go down and you play with them. What do you get out of it? You get some joy in them. You get some joy. You get some love. You get some joy. You see things happen. And if we could operate our lives along that perspective, that in that realm of Kairos moments and experiences, creating those throughout the day, things would change. I think in 2026, making that your goal, your mission, one of your mission statements for the next year is to create those more Kairos moments in a day, Kairos experiences. That would change a lot of things for many people. That's my view.
And I love that you bring up your dog, because dogs are that unconditional love and that being fully present. They don't care where you've been or what's been going on. I mean, they're really our greatest teachers. They'll bring the ball, and if you're not able to throw it, they'll come back and they'll say, "Hey, come on, let's play." And they'll keep trying until
come outside
you throw the ball. And sometimes, my one dog, we have a jolly ball, and I can't throw that enough times. And finally, I have to say, "Okay, we've been out here for a while. It's time to go in," because the jolly ball is really jolly. But it is. I think you're right, Michael. How can we sort of make time as love made visible? It is not something that is neutral. It can become very meaningful when we give somebody our full attention, and we put that love in that and being fully present. It hasn't become easy because we're so distracted by so many different things. But I think when we're fully present, we're aligned with that peace. And that's sort of what the teachers were speaking about in that last episode. And being able to fill our grid more and more with our highest excitement for that moment and allowing those things to come through. I think the more that you do it, the more it becomes second nature. The more that, obviously in the beginning when you had your new puppy, there were different things. But as he's been growing over this last little year, you're making more time and you're finding more joy and you're exploring things together. And when you take him out into the community, you're sharing that love. And people's faces light up, I'm sure, when they see him come in. But you don't have to have a dog to be able to do that. You can walk into somewhere and with that beautiful smile that you radiate, people look forward to seeing you. Oh, you're back. Oh, I haven't seen you in a while. Yeah. And what have you been up to? And you're creating those conversations. You don't have your phone when you walk in somewhere looking at the content and then looking up at the person who's standing before you so you can place your order, then looking immediately back down at your phone and walking to wait to pick up the order. That's not connection. Nope. It doesn't serve anybody in that scenario. It's not that things on the phone aren't important sometimes. It's just that gentle reminder to really be fully present with the people that you engage with and see that the gifts that they have to offer you as well as what you have to offer them and sharing those moments of time.
I have one thing that I say, bring your light with you. Bring your light with you. When you go into a place, bring your light with you. Whether if you're at home, make sure you got your light with you. Your presence, that light, the light of love and joy and fun and excitement, that light, which is in your energy field, everybody else can sense, that you have to bring it with you. Don't leave it in the car when you go into a building. I go into Starbucks, I take little boy with me. I'll take him out of the car and go into Starbucks with a little corgi and, order the coffee or the fancy coffee drink and we'll sit down and maybe he'll engage with some people that are there, which he loves to do, but he loves going in there. He loves the people who are behind the counter. They come out and, say hi to him and give him a little love. And it's interesting. You said, what you said about animals, they're not judgmental. They're just full of love, unconditional love all the time, and they don't have a sense of time. They don't understand it. And so when you're out and about or you're in the backyard or you're working and they're doing whatever, they don't know that it's time or not time to play. They have no clue. But the beautiful thing is when they do remind you that life is about play, which is what many younger dogs do, you got to take advantage of it because that energy and that joy that you get from the experience with them, that love that you feel from them, taking that back into whatever environment that you're in your office, if you're working out of the house, it can't do anything but be positive for the next connection that you make with someone. If you're in customer service, working from home, that is a positive thing. You're bringing the light that was created from that experience with your dog or your cat, whatever, back into an environment where it's needed most. Connection with people. And that's the way I think of it. That's the joy that's what I bring to the table. When I think when I'm going, instead of saying no I got to do this, hang on, no, I said, well, just let me. If I'm finishing up one little thing, I'll look at him and give him a little pet on the head, finish whatever it is, and I'll say, okay, let's go. And he's extremely happy to get out, and that's just the way it goes. I'll come back to whatever it is, and I'll come back with an attitude that is in the stratosphere. It's up, it's positive, the energy's there, because we can just burn ourselves out thinking about things that we have to do or that we whatever. The word I've gotten rid of is need. Donna Bell helped me get rid of that one. I need to do this. I need to do that. No, don't say you need to do anything. You don't need. to do anything. You choose to do that thing. You prefer
You're right.
to do that thing. Don't make a life a need, because that connotates that you don't have control, that you're giving your power over to something else. And in 2026, the one thing we want to make sure of is that we maintain our power. That's going to make your years so much better when you can have that perception that you have your power, and that and the words that you want to be going through that you want to have floating through your head are not without my permission.
Right.
Nothing can take anything away from you without your permission. Not without my permission. That to me that is sovereignty in a nutshell. Not without my permission. And if you say that to yourself and say it to other people when it's necessary, they'll know where you stand, and you will be standing tall.
That's so true. Yeah, thank you for that reminder. Wayne Dyer used to always say you can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you show up. And when you said those words, that's what popped into my mind, because this year is the year of the horse, and it's about forward momentum. And you think a horse just takes off like a gallop. And I keep hearing that, and I'm thinking, okay, it's going to be this forward momentum. So how, if everything's supposed to be very fast-paced, how do we anchor ourselves in that present moment? And I think one of the ways that we can do that, instead of just being on autopilot and just like, okay, I have to do this and I have to do that and whatnot, one of the ways that I bring my body back into the now is to silently remind myself, this moment matters. This moment matters. This is my time. And I sort of sometimes will take a conscious breath, because it's easy to be pulled this way and that by different individuals because they're demanding your attention right now. But we can't control that when something like that shows up. But we take that moment and anchor yourself, whether you put your hand on your heart silently or just visualize it in your mind, and take that deep breath and anchor yourself back into that connection to love. This
I agree 100%. Let's talk about, you mentioned on anchoring. I don't think most people go through life thinking about the word anchoring. But it's
I
important.
do.
It's important. Yeah, I know. I mean, you use that word a lot. It's a great word. And let's just say that I agree with you that we have to anchor and sometimes re-anchor ourselves. We have to anchor ourselves in love. That would, we have to literally say, I'm operating from a foundation of love today. Whatever goes on, I'm going to throw love at it. Right? I'm not going to react to what other people do. I'm not going to allow that to occur, because that's really what happens. You get on your device, your smartphone, and you read a notification that you get when you're happy, skipping along, having a good time, and then all of a sudden you get a notification that is completely unrelated to your life, that has no relevance to you personally. And then you turn around and react to it. And all that beautiful loving and joy just dissipates right then and there. It just vanishes, because now you have allowed something outside of you, something externally, to disrupt your harmony, your peace, right? Your presence. You're being present where you are. And that's where the peace disappears. You're present. You may be walking in a park, looking at the birds, looking at the trees, looking at flowers, watching people, and picking out your bench you want to go sit on and just watch the world go by, look at the water, whatever it may be. Yet, and you're at peace when you're doing that, when you're present and you're wherever you are. And it could be in a subway. I could be present on a subway and just be quiet and just kind of looking around me, looking at beautiful colors of clothes people are wearing, patterns, whatever, catching a smile here and there, giving a smile. And then all of a sudden, boom, you get this notification out of the blue from someone who wants something from you, and you don't know them, and it's not, again, relevant in your life. and that can just poof, disappear in a puff, like a puff of smoke, gone, And that's the kind of thing we have to guard against. We have to be more present in understanding that that's the way, giving people that right. That's where I say, not without my permission. Mm-hmm. Those notifications shouldn't come to you without your permission. Calls from people you don't know shouldn't come to you without your permission. Nothing should come to you without your permission. I have my phone on silence so that I control my interaction with the device. And if somebody calls me and I happen to catch it, great. If not, I'll see it. I'll see it at some point. However, the moment is for me to enjoy, for me to experience. And irrelevant things that aren't immediately and directly a part of my life, those things I consider those indirect things that occur. And I would guarantee you, 95% of the things that happen to you, that's just my own figure from 2014 when I wrote Zero Adversity, I said 95% of what occurs that you encounter on a daily basis has no relevance to your immediate life. None. It's just stuff. Something you caught on the news, something somebody sent you, a text that somebody sent you. It's going on in somebody else's life in some other part of the world. And sometimes we have to put ourselves back in the 1600s when we were on a piece of property and the nearest neighbor was 20 miles away. How would you react and respond to that? You took care of business. You were in your moments. You were farming, or you were running cattle, or you were taking care of goats or pigs or whatever. You had your little chores around the barn. You had your moments with your dog or your cat, your significant other, or whoever was in your home, your family, whatever. But you really didn't your life was not interrupted by the outer world until you went to the store to buy goods. Then you got all the gossip, right? All the stuff that, again, was totally irrelevant to you, right? And you got to put yourself in that situation sometimes, and understand that you put yourself in your own little world of happiness, because this what the digital age did more than anything else, cable and digital, it's all digital, and the smartphone and all that, what it did was it took this world that was 20 plus hundreds to thousands of miles away, millions of miles away, and it brought it to your doorstep. And imagine somebody knocking on your door all the time, just knocking on your door all the time to tell you something, right? Think about that. I mean, you're in the house, you're enjoying the beautiful fire in the fireplace, and there's somebody constantly knocking on your door. Buy this, buy that. You need to know this about what happened in politics, blah, 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 right? What so-and-so said. And you're like, what? Who cares what so-and-so said? And that's really where that's what I start thinking about.
I had to stop a conversation like that the other day, and I said it very gently. I said, you know what? I appreciate where you're coming from, but I have to envision my world in a certain way from a loving standpoint, and I understand that these things go on, but I have to radiate and keep my vibration high and come from a place of love, because when I'm sharing time with someone, whether it's on the phone or in person, I always want to be fully present in the truth of who I am. I enjoy being positive, and I truly believe that everything is unfolding perfectly, even if we can't see the wisdom in it at the time. We may look back years later and appreciate the beauty of what unfolded, although at the time we can't see it. We believe that when we embrace the knowing that within each moment is a blessing, and to be grateful and to allow no attachment to the outcome, as Bashar always says. And I just want to share with you, Michael, just a quick aside, because when you were speaking before, I heard a song in my head, and I don't know who sings it. You might, but I think it's a song from the 60s. You probably do know this magic moment. And,
it is.
And as you're speaking, and it's not that I'm not listening to your words, but this is playing in my head. And I'm going to have to listen to it after we're off the air, because all I could think of was this magic moment. Do you know the words? I don't know the words, but I'm just hearing that over and over. But I'm thinking there is only this moment. There's only this breath. There's only this connection. There's only this love. And I need to probably rewatch The Holy Man, because I did pull up the 75-year quote. And whoever this brilliant scriptwriter said, you could be loving more. You could be taking more chances. You could be living more. You could be spending more time with your family. You could be getting in touch with that part of you that lives instead of fears, the part of you that loves instead of hates, the part of you that recognizes the humanity in all of us. And I was like, wow. Wow. I mean, that's what sharing time and sharing love and sharing connection is all about to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Really, truly.
That's beautiful, by the way. I'm going to tell you, not to get into, but I'm going to tell you that Magic Moment was recorded by the Drifters in 1960. It was recorded by them, this Magic Moment. And it was also recorded in 1968 by Jay and the Americans. So the name of the song is This Magic Moment, the Drifters or Jay and the Americans. And the beautiful thing about that I love about Spotify is that in many cases the words will come up as the song plays. If you just scroll down, you can see the word along with the music. It is a wonderful thing. It doesn't happen with absolutely every song, but it does happen with many of this, especially these classic songs, where you can actually see the words. And it's really cool to do that. You know, not to interrupt your thought, but it's really cool to actually see what is being said, see what the poetry that the writers, in this particular case, Doc Thomas and Mort Schumann wrote the song, the poetry that the music possesses. It's fantastic. Poetry that's made into music. I've admired people who have that ability to write lyrics, write poems, and put them to music. It's a gift. It's an absolute gift. It's a divine gift, quite frankly. From anybody that I've ever seen and talked to in the business, it's a divine gift to be able to have the music and the words come to you, and you put them out there. So. Yeah, so true.
We'll have to find out what the inspiration was for that and the reason that the guides brought it through, because I'm sure that the words that you were speaking, there was a reason. I think both of you and I will be listening to this song after the show. But I think that time has sort of a sacred rhythm to it when we're in that space of love. I know that as you're walking the dog, there is just a rhythm to what you're doing. You're bringing in information, channeling in thoughts, and bringing things through, and you're connecting in that presence. And I think no matter what it is that we do, we can share that time rather than spend it, and really be grateful for the time that we all share together, because it truly is a beautiful gift.
Yeah, I agree. So it's coming up. We got a whole, as my girlfriend says, 364 days we got left in this year before we turn to 2027. And I know for me, at this particular point, what I'm thinking in my mind is exactly what we're talking about here in the show, as to how this year can I create more of those Kairos moments, those Kairos experiences every day. You know, I love doing it. How can I make it even more intentional than I already make it? And how can I remain aware of when I'm not in that mode? You know, it's when I've got to get something done rather quickly. And I know this year I put a solid effort into, even if I was in a hurry, making sure that the person that I was connecting with, that I was giving them a wonderful cordiality or greeting, a good smile, bringing some light to their situation. You know, there are so many people out there who are lost, who are unaware of their own empowerment, unaware of their own sovereignty, and they've allowed the outside world, external world, to dictate how they're feeling in any given moment. You know, and like I said, they've started to allow everyone to knock on their door when they're, you know, in a wonderful space. So much so that they've forgotten what being in a wonderful space feels like. And it's something that we all must intentionally create in our lives. More of those moments that are connected to peace, those present moments, as being present in the moment, as the teachers were saying, Carol Collins. That's a beautiful statement, by the way. Being present is being at peace. I absolutely love that connection between being present and having peace in your life. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of doubt. There's a lot of worry and a lot of people who are subjecting themselves to stress based on the choices that they're making on a daily basis in their life. Just to let you know, I have a friend who has made some choices in his life. Good friend I've known since Turkey. Amazing guy. Warm, wonderful being. He's making some choices in his life that are creating more stress and strain as a result in his life that are, creating other chain reactions of issues health-wise. And I said, it's interesting. Every day we get up, every day, just like today is a blank slate for this year. Every day you get up is a blank slate for that day. So you can make different choices in that day, choices that will make you feel differently, that will help you experience differently that day than the previous day. We literally just settle for the fact that the 5 days during the week that we're working, if that's what we work, have to be the same, that they have to have the same outcomes and make us feel the same way. And we go through those days almost in a rote manner, where we're going through the motions and we're settling for what we have and where we are and who we're talking to. We're just settling. And it is, we're here to experience life, to experience it from a perspective of joy and fun and excitement, love and passion. And these are the things I think about getting up in the morning. And how can I make every day of this year stress-free, free of fear, free of worry, free of doubt, free of self-judgment? And how can I do that even more than I've been doing? And how can I be radically aware of when I actually have a thought in my mind that is along those lines? Because I'm human and we all do that. Right? We all, nobody's the perfection we seek, although we're perfect in every moment. That's my belief. I know it's yours too. We're perfect right here, right now, and we're exactly where we're supposed to be in every moment. We have the choice as to how we engage with that moment. We don't have to just take it. We can make it a fun experience. We can make it a positive experience for ourselves, more than just a negative experience. And all we have to do is just see things differently. That Kairos moment, that Kairos experience is right there. We're on the precipice of it. If we simply, with intention, create, as an artist creates a painting. We just start, pick up the brush, we dip it in the paint, we put it on the canvas. But we make those choices about what colors we're painting.
That's beautiful. I love it. I would say paint your world with love and laughter. Let that laughter linger. Allow the conversations that you have with the people that you meet to savor them, fill them with love. Time definitely should not be spent. It should be shared. And I'm so grateful to share this time with you, Michael. And it is always such a blessing and an honor. And I think that when we look back on our lives, like my great Aunt Ruth, a life is not remembered by the years, but the moments we share with each other. And
right.
The footprints on the hearts of those that we meet. So I would say grab your paintbrush, paint some beautiful colors, share your gifts, share the love, and share the connection, and make it an amazing year. And then some.
That's how it happens. And putting one foot in front of the other on a daily basis to do that. It's not like we get this feeling that we're putting ourselves, okay, this is 364 days, this is 2026, and this is this year, and you make a mission statement, or you make set some goals for yourself, and you go through the year, one day after another. The point though is that it's really just today's another day, tomorrow's another day. I don't really get so caught up in the year and the transition and how I'm progressing through the year, because I'm looking at it as today is one day. I want to make this day the best day I can make it. I want to share my light with as many people as I can. I'm not getting out of the house and going to a shopping center or whatever just to share light. If I have a reason to go, I'll go. But because the people I'm going to connect with, I'm meant to connect with. There's no accident, there's no coincidences in terms of my belief. And if I sit next to somebody on a plane that is a really good spirit, and by the way, I always sit next to people on planes that have good light, always. And somebody talked to me about that on the way back to Atlanta, and I said, yeah, it's not an accident. It's not an accident you're sitting there that I'm sitting here, because we attract what we think about most. We attract the energy that we put out is the energy that we receive. And so you're an amazing person because, and you're sitting in that seat because that's the light that you put out. And you attracted me into your sphere of influence, if only for 4 hours on a plane. We have that going for us. And I tell other people whose lives aren't going the way that they've planned, I ask them to just assess what their thinking is. What are the most dominant thoughts that go through your head? Are they fear-based? Are they lack-based? Are they worry-based? Are they the opposite of love? Are they unhappiness or sadness-based? What are you exposing yourself to that's creating that line of thinking? Because we're all exposing ourselves to things. We have a choice about that. If you're wrapped up in politics and if that's what you're seeing, if that's the world that you live in, when you're not in the game of politics as a profession, then you're going to literally be exposing yourself to some of the worst ideas and thoughts and energies. Literally, you are. Because we live in a world, like I said, that's who's going to be where what you're thinking about most is knocking on your door. Now you make a choice. You want it to be peace, love, understanding. You want it to be those Kairos experiences knocking on your door. Do you want the opposite? That's literally it. If I'm sitting in my living room, I have that choice as to whether, and that's really the way it works. It's that energy. What are you attracting to your front door and in life? And for me, it's always, I'm constantly remembering that what I'm thinking is attracting to me like for like. I'm attracting to me, and I'm saying, okay, great. So it's because I get people who I interact with who have, and I'm just literally just observing. I love to be an observer, and if there's something some comment that I can make towards them, in addition to just bringing good light and a smile, right? That good energy in my this energy field around me, then great. And I sense when people are open to something, and not all people are open. So I just share the light. I don't really say much, but being cordial and being loving and being kind and wishing them the best. And there's other people who, they are definitely they're opening the door to something positive from someone else, connection from another human being, and it's important to recognize that, because you can be that light, that you can brighten a moment for anyone when they open the door, if you're conscious of and you're kind of in tune with what they're saying. And to me, I love to find those little moments where the door is cracked open a bit.
It's so true, Michael. And what came to mind was the quote that we had built a show on a few episodes ago, beginning again. Starts with the simple act of turning your face to the horizon and choosing the sunlight. And I think that when we turn to the person that we're with, or whether it be a stranger, and choose to see the sunlight in them and realize that this moment this magic moment is the only one you're guaranteed. And so really enjoy it, embrace it, embody it, savor it, and just be in that moment. I love it. Thank you for that inspiration. It brought back that thought of you sitting outside, embracing that sunlight, sharing your light, sharing and seeing that light in other people. It really is one of the ways that we can fully express the beauty in our soul, that connection to love. So thank you.
It's all about that connection to love. You're welcome. It's all about that connection to love. And it's why you created this title for the show. I think it's fantastic because it covers, it's like a million colors of beautiful paint that we have to choose from. You know, connecting to love it's a diamond with many facets, let's say, with millions of facets. And we can take it and make it what we want it to be in our lives. We're saying we're connecting to love, connecting with love, connecting to love. It's what we want it to be. And that's the beautiful thing about life, is that we can make our own choices, our own decisions. We have the free will to create whatever consequences that we want to in our life. We just have to be making the right choices to create those consequences. And I know for you and for me, connecting to love is important to us. It's like top of the food chain, so to speak. It's what we do. It's how we want to. We choose to live. It's how we choose to live. We've got people listening to this program here on Connect to Love that are from all the far regions of the world, four corners of the world, and I know you're incredibly grateful, and so am I, that we are touching your life in a way. We hope that it's helping you, giving you some tools to make your life what you want it to be, to feel the way you want to feel, because it's important, because it's your life, and the choices that you make are creating the consequences that they're leading to the feelings that you have about yourself and your life. And Lisa and I, we come from a perspective of love. And this year, instead of creating some sort of this year I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do this thing and whatever this year, create habits every single day that you can maintain and take well into the future, well into the next decade and the decade after that. It's about, in my view, creating habits that are aligned with love, habits of that are aligned with self-love every day. Start there. It's your life. You can make it anything you want it to be. If you want love in your life, you have to, as we've always said, start within. Do things for yourself. It's not a matter of time, how long you do it. It's just create some things, a list of maybe 2 or 3 things that you do for yourself every single day that stoke that fire of self-love, stoke the fire of self-love, and take it from there. And you'll see that your life will begin to change, that some people will leave your life. Don't be sad about it. You've changed frequencies. And go for it. And just see that, make it happen, and you'll see that other people will come into your life. So I encourage our audience all over the world here on PR and FM and our podcast, Connect to Love, to at least do one thing consistently, and that is choosing love. Choosing to connect to love this year and every day, and every moment. Forget about the year. It's just say, look, it's another day. Do it today. Finish out the day connecting to love, and start tomorrow morning connecting to love as well. Make that your mission, and in my view, your life will be enriched beyond measure in many, many ways and on many levels.
Thank you, Michael. And thank you to all of you who take the time to listen, and cheers to all those Kairos moments awaiting you, and to your connection to love, peace, and harmony. And till next time, peace out.